Margaret's getting a new home. So Margaret, this is your new home here, is it?
Yeah, sure.
This one over here?
I know it's a classic, isn't it?
It's a beautiful caravan. There's where we pot on top. You can sleep in that too. I made that.
Yeah, yeah.
This is actually Margaret's new home, folks. She's renting it for 6 weeks while Arb works on the houseboat. You excited?
Oh, it'd be nice to have a new home for a little while.
Well, you've been stuck with your sister in the houseboat for a long time. Two siblings living together can't be flash, can it?
Oh, we get on really well.
No sibling rivalry going on?
No, don't think so.
But
not
you need your own space.
Not from my point of view.
No, no.
Yeah.
I can
no,
imagine.
we get on pretty well.
And the bloke pulls it up here and bounces it out for you. Looks pretty flash. Oh, we'll have a look inside later, eh? You'll better sneak in there and have a cup of tea. I'm only looking from the outside, but it looks pretty good. Oh, it's got a little living room in there, Margaret. Nice and flash, comfortable. Pretty flash, eh, bro?
Yeah, it doesn't float though.
Doesn't float? No, we like things that float, eh?
Yeah.
Is it smoko time?
Oh no, this is meth.
Oh, it's meth, okay.
That's just what I have before smoko.
Oh yeah, bit of the old meth, yeah.
Get it in, yeah.
This vehicle here is the plasterer who's here today working on the studio. Let's see how he's doing. Well, no plaster in here this morning because that was actually Byron's car. I thought it was the plasterer, so still got to plaster it. And his van's been serviced, so they gave him that. What's going on, bro?
Well, it's Monday, so it's a struggle always, you know, just to see if life really is that worth living and having to go again.
Yeah, right, you got hump day coming up on Wednesday, haven't you?
Yeah, so what we've done is we put the stainless flashing in here where we bolt the deck. We bolt the deck, stringer goes on here, or ribbon plate, whatever you want to call it, goes on here with packers, and then we seal around that stuff. So that's stainless because if we put a tin one in there, it's, you know, there's a risk that it might rust later on in time, so we do a stainless one there. So that's that bit taken care of.
Is that also because we're coastal, or is it?
We're not coastal. We're not within the 500 metres of spray zone, really.
Right. Okay.
But still, it's just like we're not to service that. You'd have to pull the whole deck apart.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like really. You could say it was about $130 for these flashings. And tin colour steel, you probably would have paid about 68.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. You don't do it. So do that. So that's the drip edge is below the framing.
Drip edge, right?
Yep. So that way, and it's rolled over, so you don't cut yourself.
Oh yeah, I see it's rolled over the bottom there. Yep.
So
beauty.
That's for that. What we're doing, and now I'm working out what I'll do is I'll make a story rod for my weatherboards. Yeah. And I want to see if I have to shuffle them for where I want them to fit. Yeah. Around here, you know, this sort of stuff. I want them to fit neatly in places to go where they want to go. So I've got a measurement where I allow a little bit of movement from the top and the bottom for expansion, you know, a bit of growth, a couple of mil, and then it works out as 110 mil centres basically. Okay. And so there you go, there's 108, so 110 mil. So what we do is we make a story rod, and then that's got all the top marks of our weatherboards, so then we can just bang them all up. And we can transfer it from one end over there, so we set up the level and we mark it all out there. We mark it either side of the door and the window, down the other end, and then bang, we can start putting the weatherboards up.
Oh, that's so good to hear how that works. I wondered how you can do it, and I was like, yeah. So the story rod is you mark it very, very accurately, and that's and that's what you use for your. I've seen you do that before, eh?
Yeah, I did it with your other one.
I saw
as well.
You doing that. Yeah, no, it works beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it when something beautiful goes together.
So yeah, we got those. The glazes are supposedly coming tomorrow. Clint said to put. That,
put
the actual window in.
On that one there. Cool. This one's in.
Yeah.
You happy with that one there?
Yeah.
Because there was a big gap, eh?
There is a big gap. Yeah, I mean, they measured it off the frames, I believe. I thought they didn't need to make that big a gap on it, to be honest. But yeah, doesn't really matter. We fill it up with foam and we pack it. I put a thing. It's packed and screwed. So what I do is I put a piece of malthoid behind here that curves around, and then the weatherboards push into that. So that's another way of doing that. That we do, and that goes below the head flashing, and then so that. All about keeping moisture out, and then it's foamed up in the inside, and that gap behind that stuff, so that's, you know, stops the ingress of water getting in there anyway.
The eaves. Yep. Looks good.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to lift those up underneath to hold it better?
No, we had a scaffold. No, that's just half sheets.
Half sheets.
Literally half sheets.
Right.
Of 6 mil, so that was all quite light and easy. No, it was good.
It's exciting, mate. She's looking good. Our studio.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't wait to get this finished. Gonna have some fun in here. I'm just about to go for a bike ride, that's why I've got this gear on, but wanted to show you guys, this is where this, I've talked to some of you before, this is where the sound booth will go in this corner here, and This will be an area of space outside of the sound booth. So it's actually a vocal booth more than anything for doing vocals and instruments. It's completely soundproof, and that's coming from the house inside. I'll show you that shortly. And this rest of the space here will be for instruments and storing stuff. This room next door here will be where we do our podcasts in here. So we'll get our mates to come over from around the country, different YouTube celebrities. Might get Joe from Jay Wilds, or Josh from the Kiwi Bushman, or might get Joe from Ruhini Hunter, or might get Crispy from Crispy's Adventures. We might get Stu Drever from Green May Life, or we might get Mike from Wika Digimedia, or we might get anybody at all. There's so many people that I know. So that would be our podcast room in the corner, and we'll have on the wall, we'll have actual acoustic panels going over this plywood here, so we don't get that boomy effect. And all the rubbish will be tidied up. Going to get a skip in, actually get my trailer on that and empty that out. And this will be our outlook. Pretty much the little fuddy over there and bush. So as you can see, there's only windows on one side. Being a studio, there's no windows at the back because it's all like it's going to be soundproof. That's where we're at with that. Thought I'd show you that there. Just asked my brother Tristan, how's the 12-string guitar going, and saying, well, you can't really do anything because they listen to the noise. Listen to it. All day long. The new subdivision, which is going over there, it's like you can't play anything, eh, bro?
No.
Just that constant noise.
Yeah.
Especially living in the city and you've got that all the time. Well, you come from the city, eh?
Yeah, but this is different, eh? Because in a city you've got probably a bit more sound protection, and this is actually quite intense. Even though it's not really loud, it sort of reverberates around here.
Yeah, it does, eh?
You can kind of, it's just, you can't do nothing.
No, I can't record any songs. I can't do anything at all. Can't make anything audio without that constant noise in the background. That's a scraper. And Shano told me from Nelson that they have 2 engines in them. Right. So you've got 2 engines, and apparently they can connect up to another scraper and join up 2 and push and pull each other. Yeah. It's quite interesting. He's far away.
50 metres away? 200 metres?
He's probably 300 metres, but you can still hear all the noise from here, eh? Yeah. Just going, and he seems to be going non-stop all day. He's just behind those willow trees.
Yeah, just saw him
working down there in the cherry orchard. They're putting a new driveway on, I think. Just seeing how much rain we had on my new bed that's gone through the soil. Yeah, it's reasonably, still could do with more. It's quite dry soil here. This is my new raised bed that I've put in, and as you can see, it's a pretty big one. I haven't got it completely filled up. It goes right to the end there, 30 metres. And this has been a joint effort with a lot of people building this. I put all the posts myself. Damo did a couple, but I put most of them in, dug them down. Stu Webb, patron, came and stayed, and he did a lot of this framing here. The zinc aluminum's pretty tough, holds the dirt in. We've got framing packed behind it to keep it in. Got the old corrugated, second-hand corrugated iron there, and this was brand new zinc aluminum. I thought for the front of the face of it we could use some new, just because you're going to see it. And underneath this here I've got all of this, which we loaded in off the trailer. My brother and I got it, and my mate Wayne got some. And this here is all dead silage. It's 3 years old, so all the seeds are dead, so it won't grow any grass, and then the dirt's on top of that. Trouble, tail wagging all the time, aren't you? Sit down, sit down. Just had your walk, not get another one. It's like, come with me, we're going for another walk, are we? No, we're not. He just never stops, he's ADHD all the time. Calm down, mate, calm down. Bloody hell. Gonna steal an apple, aren't you? No. No, you're not. Yeah, you're a good boy, aren't you, eh? No, you're a good boy. I know you want to raid the apples too, don't you, eh? I'll let you have just one. Okay, here, you can take one. Has he got it? Yep. He's got it in his mouth. Got a pea. They love those apples. I don't know how much goodness they get out of them, but they love them. Boy, eh? Yes, you do. Oh, you waste about 3. I think we'll give those to sheep, eh? These guys all standing in a line behind their mum. We knocked the wool off them last week. These are my neighbour's sheep, they're not my ones. You want to try and have a munch on that? Bixie picked those ones for you. Don't know they eat apples. They sure do, loving it. There she goes. Massive machine, aren't they? I'd hate to think what's been spent on running that beast. Every day it goes, early morning till 5 at night. Apparently the guy that drives it's been driving for 40 years, so he'd know his stuff, wouldn't he? These are chalet, and that guy there's got horns, and his brother's got no horns. Murray owns this, Murray, and he thought when he had it, this one was a ewe because it's got no horns, but just by the way they are. Pretty friendly lambs. Easy to deal with when they're like that. Old blackface here is not so friendly. G'day, mate. Because I've got so many people living with me, we all have to do our washing, well, all the time, and this is just some of the washing that's been done today. There's 4 people here. My water bill and power bill's definitely gone up, and I had 5 shirts on there, and the reason I had 5 shirts because I went through 5 shirts on my gig on St Patrick's Day at Biddy Kate's Irish Pub. Biddy Kate's Irish Pub, crazy gig, full on, full noise. I'll just give you a wee clip of it.
Are we having fun tonight or what? Are we pulling the stuffing out of the teddy bear? Hey, look at my drummer over there. There she goes. There's Tara. Give her a heat. Keep it going, Tara.
Mad night. I found myself at 1:30 AM lying on my back on the floor, and I've very recently started to have atrial fibrillation. I'm fit, but I've had atrial fibrillation, so I went to the doctor and he told me to get an Apple Watch. So I bought the Apple Watch, this is it here, because it measures your atrial fibrillation, this thing on the back. But of course I couldn't use it because it didn't run off my phone, so I had to buy the old bloody Apple phone. But it was good because I got a really good printout. 1 AM in the morning, found me lying on my hotel floor in AFib, and I was able to get a printout which I sent to my doctor. This is actually recorded at 1:30, and I went into AFib at about probably 1, and you can see it says at the top here atrial fibrillation. This ECG shows signs of atrial fibrillation. Well, damn right it does. It doesn't look particularly flash, does it? The heart's all over the bloody place. The good thing is I've been able to send that to my doctor, Andre Bonnie. He's a bloody good doctor too. So far with my journey with heart trouble, I've had to pay and do everything for myself. Not everybody does. My mate Arb out there, state paid for everything, and I wonder why it's that way. There seems to be, I don't know whether it's a prejudice against certain people or not, but he got everything pretty quick, and I've had to keep pushing. I was in hospital last year, and they sent me home twice saying, you've got none of the big ticket items, you're fine, you're fit. It turned out I had a serious atherosclerosis, and then I had to then pay myself to go and get a transthoracic echogram stress test done with cardiologist Nick Fisher. $1,500, and Nick Fisher is a mate of mine. I actually taught his daughter Tegan a really lovely young woman. She was a girl when I started teaching her, but she's a lovely young woman who's a fantastic singer, and she won the competition that I ran at the TAP many years ago for young people. And so I knew Nick through that. I used to go around to his house and he'd have a glass of wine and we'd be talking. A lovely guy, him and his partner, both cardiologists. And so I ended up going back to see Nick, and Nick waived his fee. His fee would have been about $500, and all I had to pay for it would have been $1,500, but for that test all I had to pay for was the $1,000 for the other staff and the machinery there. So good one, Nick. Not all people are in it just for the money. And so he said, mate, you've got atherosclerosis by the looks of it, but we need to look at this further. So I had to get either an angiogram or a CT scan. Now, CT scan is definitive, and all people after 50 should be getting a CT scan. The only trouble is I had to pay for that too. The hospital doesn't pay for it. They'll pay for the angiogram, but the angiogram is not quite as definitive, and also it carries a risk because it's invasive. They're going into your heart, and so I think it's about a 1% chance of stroke or heart attack because of it. And that's not a stat I'm prepared to sort of gamble with my health. So that happened, and the results came back to CT scan that I had a terrible atherosclerosis of soft plaques, non-calcified plaque in my left anterior descending artery. I think they call it the alot, the widowmaker, and also the other one. But I also need to have a stent as well because there was a really occluded part. So I said to Nick, what do I do? He says, well, you've got serious problems with cholesterol. I think they call it hypolipidemia. Yeah, LDL was way up. It was 5.8. And I said to him, what if I change my diet? He said to me, if you lived on a monastery and suck lettuce all day, it won't make any difference. You won't get it. You might get it down from 5.8 to 5. So I went home and did some research, and I read a lot of conflicting stuff around that. Some stuff said what Nick said you might get it down as much as 10% or 20. But then I read this book from Dr. Carl B. Esselstyn. I read the book after doing a lot of my own research, and not just him, a lot of different people. I read bits of the China study, and I looked at Dr. Joel Fuhrman and a whole lot of other doctors that had a different approach to heart disease. And this book changed my life. That's it there. All of the studies that he's done are based on a lot of research, and he's got a lot of papers, this guy. And to patrons, I've talked about this before, there was one photo in this book that really answered my questions. That was this one here. This is before, and you can see where the arteries become quite occluded and quite narrow. The same artery 3 years later. And as it says here, coronary angiogram, this was actually shown 3 years later without any statins or drugs, just by diet alone. So I would have been at this stage, and now I'm probably at this stage here, and eventually I'll be at that stage. I was having to use lingual nitrate back then. It was in May last year, and I was probably in stage heart disease. Hospital had recognised it. Twice they sent me home saying you've got none of the big ticket items, when in fact I was a really sick boy. So then I reached out to people, and reached out to my mate Dr. Glenn Davies at Taupo Medical Centre. I reached out to Peter Bird, that's Hilary and Margaret's brother. Peter is a registered nurse that works, he has his own company. I was going to say works, well he is it, he owns the company, Occupational Health Services, Precious People also known as. But Peter himself had not only arrested his own heart disease, but had reversed it by following this guy and a bunch of other people. So my cardiologist, he told me if I lived on a monastery and sucked lettuce all day, I wouldn't get my cholesterol down more than probably from 5 to 5 point, well, it's to 5.8 to 5 is what his words were. And within 3 weeks, I'd already gone to 2.8, so I knew that wasn't true. And I had it measured recently, and it's now 1.8. That's the low lipid protein, the bad stuff. But you also have to look at the subfractions of your low lipid protein, because you've got different types of, you've got the fluffy buoyant molecules that are of cholesterol, which are good, they carry all the stuff you want them to do, and then you've got the very low, the very high density ones, the very small ones. I think it's called VS-LDL, which is very small LDL. They're the ones that get into the macrophages and cause all the problems that I was having. So, not long ago, I ran 6K and I walked 12, was total 12K. I walked back from my 6K run. So I did a circuit, and I've been doing a little bit of running, and no angina at all now, no lingual nitrate. So I've reversed that disease. I'm still reversing it. What ineffectively is happening is all the non-calcified plaques, soft plaques, are now becoming calcified and going back, and that vasal thing's starting to work properly. The nitric oxide is now starting to do its job in creating that vasal dilation. So I'm good. Well, I thought I was good until I started having this atrial fibrillation. That's a completely different problem. It's an electrical problem. So talked to the doctor this morning, Andrew Bonnie, and he's saying to me, yes, we'll get you to see Nick again. Well, that'll be good, because Nick's a good bastard. He'll steer me in the right direction. And I'll probably see one of those electro specialists that deal on the stuff you're supposed to do. I'm just going to put my shoes on because I'm going for a mountain bike right now. Going to bike to Marpur to see my dad. I just wanted to finish this quick snap vlog up. That's all it is, a snap vlog. And say that, again, I'm faced with the same problem. I said, well, what will they do? He said, likely it'd be ablation. So you can solve this problem of what's going on in the heart. I get it when I'm really going hard out. If I've got adrenaline going or I'm going hard out, they can do ablation. And my dad had ablation, and the hospital paid for it all. I said, so far I've had to pay for everything. What will I have to pay for this? And he said, likely you will too. So my point is that everybody I know, a lot of people I know, that are at the end stage of their illnesses, the hospital picks them up and they pay, and it's paid for by the taxpayers' money, which is my money, because I've been paying taxes my whole life. But so far, I've had to pay for everything with this. And I think the reason being is because I'm one step ahead, because I'm doing my own research and being active all the time. And they prioritise those who they think need it the most. Because I'm not quite at the end stage of dying, I don't quite need it. But if it gets any worse and I have AFib, which can cause a stroke, because you get a block of, you get like a thrombosis in the atrial of the heart, you get blood build up and then it releases. Then I end up being half my body used, and then I can't work and pay taxes and be part of the system and contribute to my society. So it doesn't make sense that they wait till just about the end. Shouldn't they be getting you now? So if I get ablation, I'm likely going to have to pay for that to make that happen too. It's about pushing your own barrow all the time, but having to pay for it to stay well. And I think that's wrong. I really do think it's wrong. Because I'm just wanting to... I'm doing all the hard work. I've quit alcohol. I've quit salt. I've quit caffeine. And I've quit all the foods that made my LDL... And the foods I love, the food I really love, I've quit all of that. And still, I'm going to have to pay for it. It just seems to me like, yeah, unfair the way... I think our system's broken, our hospital system. That's my spin on it. Anyway, I'm going to put these on, go for a bike ride, go see my dear old dad. I might take Tristan along too, see if he wants to come for a bike ride. He's got this old mountain bike that come from the warehouse and bits fall off all the way down the road. I said, bro, you need something a bit better than that. But yeah, he's like, no, that's okay, bro. The other day it was hilarious. This chain guard falls off. There's bits of plastic on the road. He's picking them up and sticking them in his pocket. We're going down the road. Anyway, shoes on, and I just wanted to make a quick snap vlog for you guys, and we'll catch up with you soon. Okay, be good, can't be good, be careful. We'll see you later.